Hello everybody from YouTube. What's up, guys? This is another video for EthanBomb, the biggest gaslighter of the internet. This is just some videos he has on YouTube, and this is just going to be a reaction. Go subscribe and click on that all there button. Yeah, we already watched the first 10 minutes of this, so we're just going to watch the last 12, but you'll get the point of. If you want to see the beginning, the first 10 minutes of this, click on the link in the description. I have the link to the original video. So let's see what he has to say.
What did he say to Orville?
He said Orville, and Jay knows this more than anybody here. My grandfather says to Orville, it's about air resistance and overcoming drag. Okay, am I right, Jay? Of course I'm right. Don't answer that. That was a rhetorical question. Now, Orville, after my grandfather said that, okay, Orville seemed confused, right? And my
This guy's, he sounds like Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World, I think it is. But anyways, he always has stories to say, so they just let him go. First 10 minutes was them kicking him off. Every time people send a certain gift, they'll kick people off, just a funny thing. So somebody paid to get him back on. It's just a big gaslighting scheme, you know.
Grandfather, what he did next, my friends, my grandfather explained to Orville how...
It's not even funny.
It's true. It's true. Why would you think it's funny? Orville didn't think it was funny. Orville wanted to know
Orville.
Not everything's comedy, my friend. Not everything is a joke.
Not comedy.
It's not supposed to be comedy, my friend. Do you go to a horror movie and look for comedy? You don't. Look, the fact of the matter is that
make up a story about politics.
it's not about politics, my dear. It's about thrust.
Make up a
And
story about
Orville
politics
was
and I will let you
mesmerized.
die.
And, you know, the camp ended
Wow.
later that week. And years later, I'm talking about 10 years later, okay? My
Make up a story
grandfather
about
was
politics
reading
on
the
top of
newspaper.
your
He was
life.
Reading the
sitting on front porch
newspaper.
reading the newspaper.
Politics are
And
on
he
top of you.
sees, you're not going to believe this part.
Priscilla
He
gets so
sees
annoyed
that
when
his
people don't talk
old
about
friend Orville
politics.
and his brother Wilbur,
I'm
his
gonna
twin
ban you
brother
for
She
Wilbur.
gets so
Wake up
frustrated.
were
and
Listen to
taking
her.
political
full
story.
credit for the invention of the air.
Priscilla,
So
Oh.
You're banned for a week.
you're banned for a week. Oh my
You want to
god.
come up here and give me a funny story about fucking politics? Go ahead and do that shit.
Oh my god, she's such
That's
a
just
fucking
unbearable.
buzzkill.
I'll tell you who's not banned for a week. Orville and Wilbur Wright. Because what they did after that... So what my grandfather did was he decides to call Orville on the phone, right? Now...
This is great. This is great. Oh, they kicked him out
It's
again.
almost break time. Might as
They
well
kick
listen
him
a little
out, and
longer.
then they let him back in. It's unbelievable. It's like they gaslight the guy.
So he answers the phone.
It
Here's
is
the guy.
almost break time. Let me finish
He
the story for the
says...
break.
Of course.
Oh, and then they kick him again. See what I'm saying?
Oh, that's not good.
They keep
That's
kicking
that's
him.
a shark bite.
And then they keep... Like, Ethan has fun with this, I guess.
He says, hello, this is Orville. And my grandfather immediately says, Orville, do you remember me from...
I swear, if he comes back up here, you're not going to see me again.
If he
Okay.
comes up here, I'm not gonna see him again. Oh
I
my
wasn't
God.
talking to you, Jay.
You know what Orville did, Ethan? Orville
Really?
denied the whole thing. He denied knowing my grandfather. He even denied going to the camp. And my grandfather, right?
My
It was a travesty
grandfather.
of injustice. And that my grandfather had to live with this his entire adult life. It's true. And
True. It's true.
what the important thing
Is that after
it's true. And
it's
my
true.
father
And my father would be there.
There was my grandfather. And even now, I can picture
You can picture him sitting in his living room
holding
holding that newspaper with
hands.
both his hands.
He was looking at the photo
Of Orville and Wilbur, right?
Right on the
Right.
front page, and they were smiling, right? Standing next
it's
to
the galaxy.
some machine made of wood and
shit.
cloth in there.
They're sending him
And my
galaxies.
grandfather would just stare at the picture all day. He wouldn't even blink. And It was a
feeling of
shock.
shock.
It was a feeling of confusion.
Wow.
And I would say, grandfather, what are you thinking right now? And he would say, oh, Rory, it's just a flood of old
Hey
memories.
guys, just so you remember, make sure you leave in a comment below in this video, and make sure you like and subscribe, and you know, click that bell on my channel. You know? Do me a solid, bro. You know. Bro.
Memories come rushing back. The conversation by the kite. That's what he kept saying. The kite. He was mumbling about the kite. He was losing it. And the thing is, now here was Orville on the front page, right? Claiming the future as his own. But the thing is, I think the lessons here, I think there are 6 lessons we need to learn here, Ethan. 6 lessons.
Can we
6 lessons.
We can cut it down to 4. We can cut it down to 4.
That's a compromise.
There's 6 lessons, he says. They're like, just give us 4. Look at your fingers, sir, Ethan. Your fingers are so...
The first lesson, Ethan. Oh, that's hard. The first lesson, Ethan. No. The first lesson, Ethan, is that, look, we can agree, can we not, that one afternoon in the field, 2 boys flew a kite. Agreed?
Whoa, killing Chad with the wave.
We can agree that one boy asked a question and the other gave an answer. That was all. But sometimes the biggest ideas begin that simply. Is that true? Of course it is. Look around.
Didn't steal with one on our paper. Said this guy tells more lies than Trump.
It's not true. These aren't lies. I'll tell you what's not a lie. I'll tell you what's not a lie is my grandfather never got a medal.
G-dubs, thank you. Okay.
My grandfather never had a photo in the paper.
Okay, are we on to number 2 yet?
We're still on number 1. Number 1.
You're gonna get kicked again, so you better make it 3.
We're almost finished with number 1.
You better hurry.
We're almost finished with number 1.
He had a story, and that story shaped the way he saw the world. He knew what he said to Orville right that day, and he knew what sparked that. And what he did, what he told me, Ethan.
What?
He told me this. He said, Rory, even if someone... He told me this, Ethan. He's told me this. I was sitting on his front porch. We were drinking lemonade. And he said to me, Rory, even if someone...
He's just trolling them, telling them stories to waste their
that
time.
doesn't erase
so funny.
us. He told me that. He
They let it
said
happen
that
on
to me,
purpose.
and I didn't really understand what he meant at first. And then he said to me, Rory, the truth doesn't vanish just because one person won't admit it. He said that to me. He really
Okay, that's
did.
number 1.
Okay, that's number 1.
Uncle Rory,
No.
I beg you, please hurry.
I'm trying to finish. You keep interrupting me. Now, the second thing is...
To finish.
He told me you never know which ideas will grow, right? And he told me you plant seeds anyway. And I said, do you mean like real seeds into the ground? He said, no, Rory. I'm not talking real seeds here. They're figurative seeds. And these figurative seeds you plant, you may never live to see the tree it becomes. He told me that. But he said, but that doesn't mean you don't plant those seeds. And my grandfather had planted a seed because he shared the thought with a boy named Orville. And that boy helped change the world. Have any of you ever been on an airplane? If you have, put 1 in the comments now. If any of you have ever been on an airplane, type 1 in the comments now. So I think the lesson here is simple. The world forgets the ones who were there at the beginning sometimes, right? But as long as someone remembers, that's still part of the fight, right? What does that mean? Well,
Means number 3.
what that means is that we don't always get credit for what we contribute, right? Sometimes people take what we give them and they run with it and they leave us behind. Look at Albert Einstein. But That's not fair, but it happens, right? It doesn't mean we were wrong to give it in the. Was it wrong for me to give? Was it wrong for me to give the Wright brothers that information about how drag works?
Hey,
or
two
how-
rights don't make a wrong.
Exactly. I like what you did there. But look, the fact that my grandfather tried to call Orville on the phone and Orville immediately denied knowing my grandfather or even going to the summer camp is a fact that, look, I'm not going to sit here and say Orville Wright was not a man of dedication. But what I will say is this. As years moved on and my grandfather got older, like everyone does, the world changed around him, and airplanes went from
You're
being.
gonna get kicked. You
I'm
gotta
almost
Number
done.
three.
I'm getting to the good part. Wait
You
till you get
gotta
to this
Number
part.
three.
This is
Number
the
three.
best part. I'm going to name a celebrity here who jumps into the picture of this
Hurry
story. You're
up.
going to like this. And every time my grandfather would see a plane overhead, he looked up. He didn't point at it. He didn't say much, but you could tell his mind went somewhere else, back to that kite field. And my grandfather after that would fix bicycles and lawnmowers and radios and anything with parts and gears. And people would bring things to my grandfather, not because they knew he could fix them, but because they liked being around him, right? And it's kind of like when a boy asks a curious question, right? And the words were never complicated. My grandfather would make things easy to understand.
Oh,
And
sweet baby Jesus, get to
Today,
sweet
Mr.
baby
Steele. Today,
Jesus.
Mr. Steele with the
I'm
$1
getting to the good
PayPal.
part.
He said,
I'm
Roy,
getting to
Roy, the Wright brothers would want you to land the plane.
I like that. I'll tell you what the Wright brothers would like more than that was
Number three.
They didn't care about becoming rich or well known. They didn't. My grandfather didn't either, and they
skip
cared
3 and go to
about
4.
they cared about doing what was right. We're still on 2. Now,
Oh, good Lord.
Uncle Rory, come on. We love
the
you.
thing
You
is,
gotta
my grandfather
Oh, good
told
Lord.
me that. You know what he told me, Ethan? He
What'd he
told
tell
me that kind of life is worth more than any trophy. And he put trophy in air quotes, I remember. And he said to me, okay, that even if nobody, he said to me, we were sitting out back playing wiffle ball. And he said to me, even if nobody remembers the name of the boy who stood next to Orville that day, the story's going to live on, Rory. And when a story gets told again and again, it becomes part of the truth, part of the air we all breathe. That's what he said. And then we went inside to eat, Grandma. And back to the matter, right, is that we had a kite, we had a question, we had a friendship, then a phone call, and silence, and a wound, then a quiet life, a handful of memories, and a legacy passed down.
And number three.
Number 3.
And finally, number 2, it may
Number
not
3,
be
Rory.
number 3. And finally, my grandfather said to me, look, you're not going to see my name in the history books when it comes to the
Gonna have to be
airplane.
3 instead of 4. Yep.
Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Anyways, make sure you guys go follow him. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out, guys. Come check me on Twitch at Chef Mario Cooks. Peace out.